So it's Greek salad again, and Saskatoons. And these tomatoes are GMO free, but they're not organic. So we're going to talk about something we've watched before, but I don't believe we've reviewed it. The Hangover Part 2. And the Inspector Linney Mysteries, A Great Deliverance. And I think I'm going to hang on to this one because oftentimes once I watch the things a few times, then I just pass them on to family members or whatever. But because we own these ones, we bought them from the library. It would have been cheap. Or, well, this one we bought from MCC because it has.
Is that true? Oh yeah, it's good. Yeah. You're gonna hang on to that. That's.
Well, I have no idea what happened in this.
Oh yeah,
it was so incredibly boring. I mean, these main characters can't act at all. They couldn't act their way out of a wet paper bag.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to follow anything they're doing. Now, it was introduced, I guess, but the host of this was, what's her name?
Diana Rigg.
Yeah. And so when she introduced the second part of the show and gave a little synopsis of what happened in the first, I was like, oh, that's what happened. Because honestly, these guys acting it out, I couldn't tell what happened. I couldn't follow it. It was that boring. And there was a good actress. She was...
doing token actor?
Yeah, she was... There was one good actress that was... She had a fairly minor part.
I think I can remember that.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
Yeah.
Particularly by comparison with what preceded and followed.
Exactly. But, wow. I couldn't tell you what happened in this. And I think this is the second time I've tried to watch this.
Yep.
So this is a great sleeping pill.
Yeah. Just bang! Just affected both of us.
Now, The Hangover Part 2...
Just the opposite.
Yes.
That was awesome.
Very exciting.
So Pauline very kindly made some popcorn for me and for herself, but for me. And I was so fascinated with what was happening. This is the second time I was watching them. I made that big bowl of popcorn. It was big, but still, I made it last the whole movie. And I think the movie's fairly long. Yeah. So I had a great time. You too, Pauline? Second time? Yeah. Yeah.
Now, as much as it's funny, it is so, like, I have to say, I don't like any of the characters. I would not want to know them.
Well, I identify with that dentist dude. What's it? Chet Helms? What's the name of the guy?
Ed Helms?
Ed Helms. Okay.
Yeah. Well, but the characters really are.
Well, he's very nice. Yeah. Don't pick friends like this. You know.
But they're funny. I like watching all of them. They're really great that way. But
Crazy Eyes. I mean, never have a friend like him, and never, ever, ever have a friend like the Al character. I think he's got a Greek name. Forgotten that.
Zach Galafian.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Never, ever have a friend like him. And try not to hang around with guys like that Chow guy. And if you run across a crazed monkey that likes smoking, maybe best not to hang around with him. Like smoking and in a Rolling Stones vest. Not a good idea. I gotta say that monkey was charming.
He's such a good actor.
Yeah, that's a sad thing. Better actor than these two flunkies.
Yeah.
The Inspector Linney.
Yeah, they could have gotten the monkey. Honestly, They should redo this and cast the monkey. Everybody would watch it.
Just put him in a white lab coat.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Little monkey gloves.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't mess with the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so I'm tired. We're having fresh Saskatoon, so you know I was out berry picking again this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So did you hear anything wild and crazy on CBC while we were in transit?
Honestly, I had a really weird morning that way. Because we ran into a British man, who presumably he's a Canadian citizen, but he has a very strong accent, so I don't know. I've run into people that for some reason they've kept their accent forever. Like there was one woman that I knew as a teenager, and well, I knew her daughter, and her daughter would say, yeah, she has the accent except when she gets mad. Then she loses the accent. So it's like it's put on, right? They don't want to give it up, and which is weird. So it says a lot about people when they maintain their accent for ages after they've put themselves into a different culture.
Yeah, I used to have a British colonial accent. I love it.
Which is funny. So I better put this down. It's just too good.
Yeah.
When I'm talking and Anyway, so we run into this British guy. And he has a fancy camera and stuff, so he has a lot more money than we do. But I could tell he was a bird watcher, and so I was thinking, well, I wonder what kind of birds he's seen. Because, anyway, we saw 2 pairs of goldfinch today.
Yeah.
And I didn't manage to get the camera out in time for the second pair, but we did catch this first camera. And a whole lot of pelicans. But he saw...
I counted 18 pelicans.
He saw a turkey vulture, the bird watcher.
A turkey vulture, and we blew it.
We didn't
blow it. You know, it just wasn't around when we were passing through. So.
We'll see it one day. And anyway, so James said something about the guy has an accent, you know. So is he from somewhere in Britain, you know, whatever. James, you know what James does. So anyway, and the guy said, "Well, you're the ones with the accent." And I said, well, it's a matter of perspective, I guess.
Oh, he actually said that.
He did. And so a lot of British people will say that. And I've heard that, you know, with, you were talking about, well, Ed Helms here. And we know him from The Daily Show. I think he was on that originally. And then there was another British fellow on The Daily Show, and he does things, if you want to hear words pronounced correctly or whatever, watch the BBC. And it's funny, but at the same time, I mean, James had a British sort of accent, and when he was a little kid, and it's gone. And they say that people, where is it, around the Ozarks or something like that, that's actually the original, well, a more original British accent.
I'd heard Tennessee,
or Tennessee, something
yeah.
Like and well, that's what I've heard. What they say.
So maybe up in the Appalachians or Appalachians. So Dolly Parton might sound more like Shakespeare.
Yeah. So anyway, it is a matter of perspective, because James, he knew a family that they were British, and all of the members of the family had different accents because they were they had immersed themselves in different cultures. So they were all British accents, but they were different British accents. And if you watch enough TV made from that area, then you see, yes, there's a lot of different accents, even within this small little, which is bizarre. That's bizarre.
I'd say the mother and the daughter basically had the Queen's English accent. It wasn't entirely different. They were from Northern England. The father still had the Geordie accent. And the son had been to Cambridge or Oxford. So he had the Oxbridge accent. The kind of the lisp R's turned into W's and things like that.
And so everyone has an accent. It's James speaks differently than I do. And we live in the same place. But it is like still different.
Accent can mean different sorts of things. So, the way I was using it was his accent was different from the Southern Albertan accent.
Sure. But it doesn't mean that ours is wrong. And when I run across British people like that say, well, no, you're the ones that have the accent, I think, oh, you think you're superior. You think that you're actually, that we're doing it wrong. We're just a bunch of dumb yokels who don't know how to speak properly. Honestly, when people say things like that,
the weird thing is he doesn't come from.
That's what I think.
Maybe I don't.
And I don't know if that's what they're intending. I think it is most of the time.
Yeah, he should be maybe a little bit less prone to that because he comes up from the north. So they call, so he comes from Lancashire. That's where Liverpool is located, and the average Brit calls them people from Liverpool, maybe not so much from Lancashire, Scousers, and that's largely a term of abuse. So maybe a little bit sensitive about that.
All right.
We just went right by my ears.
Anyway, it doesn't go by mine.
Yeah, so the deal is by extension probably I don't recognize anyone as my intellectual superior. And I do that for Pauline too. She doesn't have an intellectual superior in the world. So
a lot of things I don't.
I'm not saying I'm better than anyone, but no one's better than me. So
anyway, so then we're listening to CBC on the way home from our hike, and they're doing this pick, I don't know.
Oh my God.
It's stupid. They're trying to pick one book which all Canadians should read. One book. And I'm thinking, one book? All Canadians should read one book? And they're picking all of their things are fiction from the sounds of things. And it's like, if you're going to read one book this year, it better not be fiction. Honestly.
It maybe should be about COVID.
Anyway, so they're picking one book. Canada Reads, I think.
And this includes one of the judges, George Canyon. Like, man, oh man. I've always wondered, like, what would a country and western guy he sings like basically by American accent. It comes from the Maritimes, works out of Calgary, but, is this the first book he's read? Well, the average Canadian.
Well, I mean, honestly, yeah, what are these guys going to pick? Because do they read a lot? Are these the only books they read? And so they're thinking, yeah, I like this book.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the people that they picked, I don't get the impression they're readers, like James said. So, why would I listen to them try to convince me on reading one particular book? And then there's a woman who she mentioned that she'd been, when she was younger, she had, or maybe the host had mentioned this, introducing her or something, I don't know. She had a prearranged marriage to her cousin that her parents had set up, and I guess she didn't go through with it. And so here's this Canadian perspective, right, from her. And she's a lesbian woman. So
she's an Ahmadi, so she's a minority Muslim. I don't know if she practices the religion anymore. It'd be hard. Ahmadis, I don't know. I think it's kind of like a offshoot of the Shia. At any rate, Ahmadis don't do that well in Sunni majority regions. Pakistan is a Sunni majority region, and it is outside of the Arabic core for Islam. I'd say the most fundamentalist.
So here she is. She'd had a prearranged marriage. Luckily, she's in Canada. And if I were her, I would have that sense that, wow, it's a lucky thing I was in Canada, being a lesbian, not wanting to be married to my cousin, and having choice,
There's all
as
sorts
a Canadian.
Of problems
Boy,
with
is that ever
prearranged
lucky
marriage.
that
Married
I'm a
to
Canadian.
your cousin.
Yeah. So
she shouldn't have to be
no.
marry anyone.
But she says we as Canadians are just as bigoted as everyone else in the world. It's just we're more polite about it.
Well,
and it's like, oh my gosh, okay. Do I ever not, whatever book you're selling, I don't care about your perspective anymore. What a fucking asshole. Honestly. Mm-hmm. What an ingrate. To say that, Shameful. Is this an inclusive we, like including me? Because I'm not. So I'm not a part of that we that she referred to. I refuse to be.
Absolutely shameful. Pauline has no.
Maybe she is bigoted. Maybe she is bigoted as much as everyone else in the world. Which, how much is that? Because cultures vary. The one that she
actually do.
Came from, the one that she was raised in, and her parents may have imported and imposed on her, tried to impose on her through prearranged marriage. Now that's a bigoted culture. And there's a lot of really bigoted cultures out there.
There are.
And seeing as Canada is a multicultural culture that umbrellas over many different cultures of people, some of them bring their bigoted attitude into Canada with them.
Unfortunately.
Not everyone does. And that has to be recognized. So for her to get on a publicly funded radio station, so she's getting paid for her time to sit on that panel and lecture us about, and all of Canada, about how bigoted we're just polite about it. Oh, well, I won't be polite for you. You're a fucking asshole. You're a fucking asshole. I'm not bigoted. You probably are. And you're certainly really close-minded and ignorant to the fact that, no, not everyone's the same. We're not all the same. We don't think alike. And there's a whole bunch of different cultures within Canada of people who think entirely different from each other. We just try to get along. It's about trying to allow other people to have freedom of their own opinion and their own viewpoints without allowing them to stifle ours, impose their viewpoints on us. That's what it's about. That's why we don't have prearranged marriage for everyone here yet, because there are enough people that have said, no, people still have rights. People still have democratic rights to choose for themselves here. That may not always be the case. If we let in enough people as immigrants that actually have no interest in anybody else having rights. It depends on how many people actually want to allow other people to have freedom of thought and freedom of action.
Tolerance is a two-way street.
Yeah.
Let me just, before you sign up.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Canadians aren't more genteel and sharing the same beliefs. Pakistan, 82% of the Muslims there, 77% believe in death for apostasy and death for blasphemy. You'd have to be hard put to find any Canadians who believe in death for blasphemy and death for apostasy. Apostasy is like leaving the belief system. Now there are some people.
Oh, there'd be a lot of Canadians who believe that. They're just not willing to act on it because they're not within the majority, or, you know.
Well, there'd be some Muslims who believe in that. There'd be some communists actually who'd believe in death for blasphemy. Some Antifa, I'm afraid. Some anarchists who believe in the direct action. There would be some fascists, some militia types who believe it. But I think the vast majority of Canadians just would not believe in, death for making fun of their, capitalism or their United. I don't know if there'd be too many members of the United Church who'd have a little problem with someone making fun of their of the Bible or
I don't
God.
think there would be too many.
Yeah, I think that's the majority Protestant religion. I don't think too many Catholics actually believe in that anymore. They used to. Presbyterians used to be crazy witch hunters, but that was a long time ago. So, yeah, that was really cheeky what she said. And a classic example of intellectual honesty or dishonesty. So, no one called her on it, like, of course, that's the CBC, and they are pretty good, or pretty bad, at indulging, engaging in intellectual dishonesty. So, I don't really want to single out Islam terribly much. We've got a lot of people that of Hindu persuasion right now. And here's what I was taught by a guy who knows it. Hinduism. In order to be a Hindu, you have a variety of beliefs. In order to be a Hindu, you have to believe in two different things. The primacy of the Vedas. I have a problem with that. Varna. That's the second thing. Varna, what does that mean? Color. What that is the caste system. Well, I'm told I have something like a South Asian background. Who knows? It might be Brahmin. It might be Muslim, for all I know. So, it's not as though I'm necessarily looking at it from the outside. Well, I got a problem with that. I might be a Brahmin. I've still got a problem with that. Because you're not a Hindu. You are an outcast. So you can go around saying, I'm tolerating that religion. Yeah, but is that religion tolerating you? Toleration is a two-way street. Confucianism. What's that about? There are lots of people over here. They don't just identify with Maoism. Maoism is now current in China. And you're supposed to kowtow to the powers that be. But who are those powers? You really can't have Confucianism and really have tolerance. Because the way it works out is children are supposed to be kowtow to their parents. The wife is supposed to kowtow to the husband. Uh-oh. You can't have Confucianism, strictly speaking, and have anything like feminism. That shouldn't be a news flash. And if you I recommend to anyone who's a little skeptical to actually read the stuff. I've actually gone through
These are books worth
Mencius, Confucius.
Not the
in
ones
the
that are
original. Do that. I've gone through some of the Puranas in the original. Do that. Get informed. You got a little problem with what we're saying. And I've actually gone through the Quran. Not through it, but parts of it. In the original. Do that.
Well, you went through the whole Quran.
Yeah, three full times. Believe me. It's not the way it's portrayed by its apologists. I'm not going to say if it's better or if it's worse. It's up to you to find out. But it's nothing like it's portrayed by the people who are defending it.